We want to know if you have a license to practice psychology and why you have this bodyguard reaching after me.
That bodyguard reaching after 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne works for Henderson City Councilwoman Monica Larson. Now, Larson refused to answer the 8 News Now investigator's questions about her background. In particular, we wanted to know why the councilwoman claims to be a psychologist. 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne joins us now live in studio. And Kyle, is there any gray area here?
Sasha, not much gray area when it comes to Monica Larson's license. It seems she is not a licensed psychologist. A little less clear when it comes to using the title psychologist.
Monica, are you a licensed psychologist in any state?
A bodyguard got in the way of us finding out whether Henderson City Councilwoman Monica Larson would say whether she's licensed in any state.
Have a nice day, Kyle.
Instead, Larson had her paid security detail hold me off while she drove off, leaving us with a lot of questions to answer. Is or was Larson a licensed psychologist? Why does she refer to herself like this?
Well, I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist by trade.
I am a clinical and forensic psychologist by trade.
By trade, one of the ways Larson describes her pedigree, which she says on her 2024 campaign webpage began with an associate's degree in criminal justice from the University of Phoenix. Then, in 2010, a bachelor's degree, summa cum laude, in criminal justice from Kaplan University, which no longer exists. A few years later, she says, a master's degree in forensic psychology from Argosy University, which also no longer exists, and a doctorate in clinical psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology's Los Angeles campus. We also confirmed that Larson treated sex offenders in 2014 and 15 through the state of California.
To prevent recidivism and to prevent them from harming someone else. I also treated victims of crime.
But what she didn't do, by all accounts, is get a license to practice psychology. The California Department of Consumer Affairs website and a spokesman show no record of Larson going any further than psychological associate, which is essentially a trainee preparing to become a psychologist. But on various social media platforms, Larson says, plain and simple, she's a clinical forensic psychologist.
You absolutely should have a license if you are going to say that you are a clinical forensic psychologist.
Nicole Valentine is going on 20 years practicing law in California, 13 of them defending people charged as criminals for violating the state's professional licensure laws. She doesn't know Monica Larson and didn't discuss the councilwoman specifically, but she told us while there are exceptions, saying you're a psychologist when you don't have a license is against the law. And Valentine says the offense can carry a fine and jail time.
It's not okay. It misleads if you don't have the license. And you don't want to mislead the public because, again, these licensing agencies, even if you're not currently licensed, could go after you for potentially unlicensed practice, even though you're not, quote unquote, practicing, you're using the credentials.
One of Larson's credentials, her spokeswoman said in a statement, is that she defended her dissertation after getting her doctorate. Another is that she saw patients under the supervision of a licensed California psychologist. And that psychologist crowed about Larson's credentials. Licensed California psychologist Ekaret Essian telling the 8 News Now investigators, quote, Monica is one of the most respected people in this field, that she did work for him as a forensic psychologist before she met him, and that Larson worked as a forensic psychologist, and whatever she says on her resume is what she is.
In the practice of psychology, there is an exemption if your job title indicates that you hold a psychologist role.
The example attorney Valentine gives is a school might hire a social worker as its quote-unquote school psychologist. In that case, the social worker can use the title psychologist for up to 5 years. Larson, though, canceled her California Psychological Associate license in 2018. So using that math, the exemption wouldn't apply in this case because Larson continues to call herself a clinical forensic psychologist here in 2025. That's for California.
Excuse me, sir, I'm trying to ask the councilwoman some questions.
But Councilwoman Larson holds public office.
You're the best candidate for this position.
Here in Nevada, where she clearly says on her campaign Facebook page, clinical forensic psychologist. The president of the Nevada Psychological Association telling the 8 News Now investigators in a statement in part, quote, if she is representing herself as a psychologist currently in Nevada and she is not licensed, this should be reported to Nevada's Board of Psychological Examiners, as this violates Nevada law.
A lot of these licensing boards, their number one concern is protecting the public.
A concern for the public and what it does to betray their trust.
Trust is crucial for psychologist Craig Kane, licensed in California for 30 years, speaking in general terms and not specifically about Councilwoman Monica Larson, but in terms of someone saying they're a psychologist, which means they've not only got education and training, but also passed the state exams and obtained a license. Dr. Kane says,
you haven't completed what you need to do to be an effective and competent and ethical professional. You wouldn't want to go see a lawyer that hadn't passed the bar. If you're not licensed, you cannot call yourself a psychologist. That's actually a protected term in the state of California. So really anybody who is calling themselves a psychologist who has not passed the licensing exam, that's just illegal in the state of California and also an unethical thing to do.
So, Kyle, I think another question here is, didn't anyone ask about her professional background when she ran for office?
It doesn't seem that way. She surprised a lot of people running the primary. At that point, most people that she was working with wanted to get rid of the incumbent, Dan Shaw. Well, now Shaw's gone, and Monica Larson is up for re-election in a few years.
Kyle, thank you so much for that report. Well, if you missed the first half of Kyle's reporting on Councilwoman Larson's past, now you can watch it here on our website, 8newsnow.com.